Justice isn't our job. Alignment is. We're going to get into it. Hi, I'm Joe. Welcome back. This is the Ultimate Love Letter. Thank you for joining the conversation. Justice is not our job. That is up to God. But can we allow God the space to move without the need to intervene? Our job is to remain in alignment. Our job is to let God deal with those that have betrayed us, those who have persecuted against us, those who have given false testimony to our name. I know it's super tempting to take justice in our own hands, but when we are following God, when we are truly believers, then we know that is not our place. Our place is to remain aligned with the source. Our place is not to step out of the work that is not ours. Our place is to keep our eyes fixated on God and allow Him to bring justice to all those that justice will come to. I was reading Psalms 41 today, and it made me chuckle actually because how David was saying, God essentially, right? David was saying, God, don't let them win. What David was saying is, don't let the lies win. Let truth be revealed. David was saying, don't let my enemies have victory over me. But God, make sure that they fall. Now, what was interesting about what David was saying was he was absolutely leaving it into God's hands. He was never saying, God, let me take revenge on my enemies. God, let me take them out. No, he was praying, God, you see what's happening and don't let them win. You see what's happening and let the truth be revealed. Think about the strength that it takes. You know it, the strength that it takes to sit back and say, God, I see this and I know you see this, and I'm going to hold myself back. I'm not going to fight fire with fire. I'm not going to step out of my place and try to combat evil with evil. Oh no, I'm going to stay right here, knowing and trusting that you see it all, and knowing and trusting that you will clear my name in public, and you will bring those who need justice to come to justice in your perfect time. I am out of it. Yeah, it takes a lot of trust, a lot of belief, and a lot of alone time with God to be able to take that stance. I am living proof that is absolutely doable. Not only do I no longer desire to take revenge out of those who have wronged me, but I actually don't care to see when God brings justice on them as well. And what I find is interesting is that because I don't care to see it, because I just trust God so much, like I know at the right time you're going to bring justice, and I don't need to know what that justice looks like. But because I take that stance, what I'm believing is true is that God says, oh no, you will absolutely see this. I put up a convo, I don't know, a few weeks ago where I was saying it was revealed to me that a friend that I once had and that I once loved was sending some dark spells my way. And even though, God called her out by name, I know exactly who it is. And if I ever see her again, I will absolutely tell her, absolutely, that God revealed it. But God already told me that she knows that he has revealed it to me. But I want to look in her eyes and tell her, yeah, that's how close my relationship is with God, that God has told me what you're doing behind closed doors. But even in that stance, I just give her love because I want love back. And also in that stance, I told God, like, I really don't care to see this justice, but God made it absolutely clear, you will see this. And I had to ask God, why? Like, why do I need to? And what I believe he has revealed is, oh, my heart is just hurting. He showed me an image. He showed me an image of what I'm going to see. I see God. Why I feel he is revealing to me when he said, I'm going to absolutely see this, is because I am deeply engaged in the spiritual realm, right? I am an earth angel. I am here to serve God, to serve humanity, to serve all living beings, our animals, our environment, all of it. I'm of service. And as I'm engaged in this realm, I'm living deeply, I'm saturated in this realm, then this is what God reveals. Like, you're in the realm, none of it will be missed. You're a part of it all. You will see it all. It's heartbreaking because he showed me an image, and I won't discuss the image he showed me here. But it's a heartbreaking image. But it's interesting because it's the very thing that I have heard that God is revealing what she's doing on me. And I see it on her. But isn't that what God does, right? Return to sender. As you give out, you get back. So, but that is quite interesting. I remember a time sitting with friends, years ago, and the beautiful friend I was with was going through a divorce, and she was talking about how it seems like her husband gets away with everything. Like, there was something going on with the taxes, and even though they were divorced and this money was rightfully hers, like, he won and he was able to take all the taxes. And it was like, according to her, all this wrongdoing. And it seems like he was victorious, and all she was doing was seething at, like, I cannot wait, for him to be paid back, and I want to see it. Like, she was so fixated, I remember, of her needing to see it. She was questioning God, and this is a woman of faith, but she was questioning God. Like, why does God allow this? Which we understand. If God's allowing anything, any adversities happening, like in her situation where the husband seemed to be victorious of all this wrongdoing, it's showing us, is growing us in our faith. Like, can we remain still, not needing to, retaliate? And even though she wasn't retaliating, the need to, I can't wait for him to get paid back. And I want to see this. I believe that's where God was stretching and working with her. Why do you need to see it? Right? Because if we can release that needing to see it, then perhaps that's when we will see it. Also, when we release it, right? Release it, just knowing that, oh, well, that's wrong and nothing is going to be victorious. That's not righteous. That's not of integrity. That's not aligned with God. Then in the moment you release it and say, God, you see it. I don't need to put my hands in it. I'm giving up to you. You give him the justice. I don't need to. And I'm going to go on with my life. I feel, in my personal belief, is that that's honestly when we speed up justice, because we're growing vastly in that moment, right? The moment to release, the moment to trust that God has it all under control and just letting it go. Then in that moment we grow. So then God can, how I believe is that God can now bring justice, in the right time. There's several things in my life that are pressing right now that I'm like, ooh, I can't wait. God, I released it, but I'm like, God, one day, that person is going to come to their knees, and, it's going to be a beautiful learning lesson for them, and finally my name will be cleared. But I'm releasing it in playfulness. I'm releasing it knowing that God is just and that God sees it all. I I used to stand with this grassroots organization in Los Angeles. Speaking of fighting fire with fire, right? Fighting evil with evil, trying to retaliate, trying to win at the same level that we are, at the same level of wrongdoing, the same level of the opposite of righteousness, the opposite of integrity. What did MLK say, right? You cannot drive out darkness with darkness. Only love can do that, right? Only light can do that. What Martin Luther King was saying was you have to ascend above it. You can't, right? If someone's doing wrongdoing and you're saying you're aligned with God, then you just stand in your alignment and let God take care of it. You don't step out of alignment and try to now, fight fire with fire, right? Love is you standing in alignment with God and letting God shine the light on the darkness. That's how you transcend. That's how you grow. That's actually how you heal the world. So, as I was saying, I was working with, and I say working with very lightly, I was standing with this grassroots organization. I will not name them by name, but at the core of them, they were fighting against anything that stood against love. So there was definitely love there. I will say this was surrounded by police brutality in Los Angeles. It's no, it's no secret that Los Angeles, my beautiful birthplace, is, the most murderous police department in the country. I mean, it's just the numbers are in the numbers, unfortunately. And so their work was surrounded with, fighting against that and standing with the families who had family members and they are victims of, where their loved ones have fallen into the hands of police brutality, and super heartbreaking. And I stood with them and I stood with the families. But what I noticed is, and the reason why I would never officially join them, but I certainly stood with them because I understood they were standing against anything that stood against love. But the reason I never joined them is because I saw really they were trying to fight fire with fire. Like if you weren't 100% aligned with their mission, then they would use, terms that were not necessarily true. Like if you're not standing in line with us, then you're a white supremacist, right? And I'm like, no, that's not true. Like not everyone is a white supremacist who doesn't align with the mission, And so I don't blanket any one thing. And so I would see how, even in standing with them in solidarity with the families, the group, and not all of them, but some of the organizers, how they would try to antagonize, honestly, the police force and other public officials. And so I was very misaligned with that. Like that's fighting fire with fire. That's not allowing justice that comes from God ultimately. That's not allowing any room for justice to come down from God. You're just fighting on the same playing field. Everything that you're talking about racism, you're talking about brutality on a human being. You want to overturn these injustices, but here you are giving out the same injustices to someone else's son who happens to be an LA officer. Do we know that he's the one that, that is a part? Is he aligned with the police brutality? Has he ever brutally, has he hurt anyone, in the line of work? We don't know. I don't know. He just seems like an officer, driving past or an officer standing by and we're attacking him. That's fighting fire with fire. That's blanketing the whole situation. So even though, yes, they were doing powerful work, which fighting against an injustice, but I thought they were misaligned with the way they were going about it. Ultimate justice needs to come from God. We have to allow God to the room and the space to give justice. That's not our place. Our place is to shine a light on the injustice. And we do that by simply standing in alignment and in love with God. Speaking about what the injustice is, right? Police brutality, for instance. Why does this hurt? Look at the families that were affected. Look at what needs to end. How do we convict hearts by just simply being that what we want to see in the world? Showing that love, showing that reverence for humanity, extending that same grace to, yes, an officer who we don't know this officer. He works for the police department that we're claiming is murderous. That's probably a fact. That's a fact. But we don't know, has he done anything like wrong? And even if he did, it's still not our place to then try to bring justice on someone else. I mean, God brings justice and he uses that by the courts and in those other officials, but it's not our place to now become misaligned and spew narratives that are untrue, spew things that are hate speech. It's not our place. And so only God, when we are spending time with God, aligned with God and trusting God, can we become graceful enough and deeply saturated in love enough where we leave the outcome to God without the need to try to vindicate, to try to, get people back for the things they've said or done against us. And I know it's hard. It's certainly difficult, even for me, when sometimes I'll get feedback and I'm just like I just want to, but I always say, God, what is this showing me about me? Why am I still responding this way internally? Why am I still triggered? Why do I feel the need to defend? Because I certainly want all of the ego gone. That's just ego, right? If we're trying to overly defend ourselves, then that's ego. But the restraint and the grace that it comes from just leaving the outcome to God, knowing that the truth will be revealed. Yeah, that takes grace. And that only comes from God, shining a light on you, through you, out into the world. I had a family member, see, that's ego. That's ego right there. I had a family member who put up, I don't know, about a year ago or so, put up something subliminal. I would have missed it, right? But my family called me and was like, oh, this sounds like you, and this person's bashing, and it sounds just like you. And it was hard for me to read what this person said. And what was even harder, but I restrained myself, is knowing that all the things I could have said back, right? Like all the things, and this person knows all the things that this person has done, the injustices that this person lived, and they just know, it would have been nothing for me to step out of character and lash out all this truth, which was garbage, right? Because unfortunately, when we were close, I was certainly toxic. I did not know God. I wasn't following God. And so that's when her and I relationship was at its closest, right? We were both two young, toxic individuals. And so, yeah, like I know the life that this person's lived and is still living, right? And the stains that have been placed on the family because of events. I'll just say this. And even in her knowing that, how I could have responded with that same type of garbage, I literally just gave her grace. Like, God, no, I'm not. Like the way that she responded was such a way where I thought, oh my God, cover up. It's showing all the hurt, unhealed parts of you. The fact that you can even let such words come out of your mouth just shows how deeply you are hurting. And I do not dare let any of this come out of my mouth. Now, I would love to say some things back, but now is the time for me to withdraw, withhold, and go internally. Like, God, what does this say about me? The fact that I even would love to respond. Like, I want to get to a place where I don't even want to respond. Yeah, I didn't respond. So that took a lot of grace also. But I want to get to the point where I'm not I don't even have the desire to respond, at that level. There's a lot of things that come to pass where I'm like, oh, I'm not giving it any energy. I don't need to respond. But that level, that was a pretty big level, a pretty big message, pretty hurtful message that person put out. And what was really hurtful about it more than anything of what they said is the fact that my children read it. And my children were some of the people that came to me and was like, Mom, is this about you? That is the part that really hurt me, because now my children are even abreast to that this could possibly be about their mother. And so that was the most hurtful part. But even in that, I just said, nope, God, you see the injustice. I'm not going to step out of alignment with you. I'm not going to lower myself to that toxic level. I know that this person would not want nothing more but to see me get out of character, and I will not afford that satisfaction to that person. Also, more importantly, I'm not willing to allow the karma that will come on me as a result of stepping out of alignment with God. And that's the point that God wants us. He wants us to trust him enough to know that he sees it all. And I know it's hard. I know people have said some things about you. Perhaps you lost your job without any, validation, right? Not just cause. Perhaps you are, going through the court system, something that's unjust that's happening to you. Perhaps you've been, arrested, God forbid, and you're still dealing with that right now. I'm going to ask you to reach out to God and let him know, or reassure him rather, God, I see what's happening here. God, and I know that you see the injustice. And God, I am leaving it in your hand to bring perfect justice and to clear my name. God, cleanse the spirit where I do not feel the need to retaliate, where I do not feel the need to step out of alignment with you. God, allow me the grace to stand behind you as you walk forward to ensure justice will be served. When we take that stance, when we pray our prayers that boldly, with that much truth, and when we believe, there is no way we won't see God's hand move. Thank you so much for joining this convo. I love you. Stay clear. Stay in alignment. God sees it all. Until next time, we'll chat again real soon. Bye for now.